Hello,
Hi.
and welcome to the latest episode of The Peak and the Pit. I'm Jazz,
I'm Kat.
and that was a phone noise. Did everyone hear it?
So, hi guys. It's the last day of Mental Health Awareness Week.
I'm a little bit sad.
I know, same.
I mean, I'm also relieved because it was a lot of work.
But it was a week of inspiring stories and meeting people from all walks of life. It was just amazing.
Yeah, and I just think hearing so many people's different stories, like different backgrounds, totally different backgrounds, but
Yeah,
all kind of fighting for the same fight,
yeah,
if that makes sense. And I think it's been inspiring. It's opened my eyes massively that mental health can affect anyone. It doesn't discriminate.
no, it doesn't.
And we just all have to be a bit more kinder to people because we never have a clue what anyone is going through at all.
No, absolutely not. Well, today we have Mike Richards. He runs an organisation called Talk About It, Mate. Mike is trying to inspire men to talk about their mental health issues. So, yeah,
There's a huge stigma about that, isn't there?
yeah, there
I
is.
think the whole man up, grow a set type thing has got to go. We're not in that age anymore.
No, absolutely
And I think
not.
Mike is doing a wonderful job at breaking that stigma.
Yeah, he is. Let's go and see what he's got to say. So, hi, Mike. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you? You okay?
I'm all right, yeah.
So, Mike, what we normally ask everybody that comes on our podcast is
Yeah.
what is their peak and pit of the week? So, what is yours?
I'll start with pit and I'll go to peak, I think. Yeah. Monday, I was doing some personal development at university because I'm training to be a counsellor. And I don't know, something came up from my past that really bothered me about myself. And I was a little bit agitated and annoyed with myself. And I feel like I kind of self-sabotaged myself a little bit there. However, that led to some, reflection and personal development. And because I'm mild ADHD, and I've done a lot of research into neurodiversity, and I'm hopefully finding a counsellor who can specialise in those kind of issues, which is a big step in the direction. So that's a peak because I've done something very specifically and personally for myself.
I like
So
it. So your pick and pit is basically like the same sort of thing.
yeah, reacting. But then it's that reacting or being proactive, and it's often we just react and then it keeps on happening. And I thought to myself, no, this time I'm going to take an action from it, and I wouldn't have done that a year ago. Let's put it that way.
Oh, that's great stuff.
Yeah.
That's great stuff.
Because I know that you've got Talk About It, Mate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us about that. Why did you start it?
I started Talk About It, Mate 3.5 years ago because it was the kind of thing that I would have wanted when I was struggling with my mental health. So I went through all my 20s and really did struggle, and I didn't know how to talk, and I didn't know how to communicate, I didn't know how to be kind to myself. So there wasn't that thing there. So I was diagnosed with depression at 18, so in 2004, and there wasn't anything there for me to do except for take antidepressants. But I didn't even know anything about therapy. I'm a young man from a working class background, never had them opportunities. And as I kind of the landscape has changed, I thought, as part of my own development, why not set up a group, an organisation where I can connect with others who have been where I've been, and it's just come from there really. In that, like, I have done my own development alongside the growth of the organisation.
How have you found? I know it's a question that everyone asks constantly, and if I'm honest with you, I am absolutely sick to death of talking about it.
I'm gonna say.
Hopefully, when this goes out, we will be out of it, and then we'll be outside. Fingers crossed if everything. But Paris have just gone into another lockdown. France, I mean, I'm only saying Paris because I'm meant to be going on holiday there. Don't panicking. Just don't talk about it.
So, how have you found having ADHD being in lockdown?
I think for me, not too bad. I'm going to be honest with you. I think I've coped quite well with it because I'm quite flexible in my job positions, and I can kind of work from home, and I'm building the social enterprise. So I've been able to make my passion, purpose kind of align. I mean, I do want to go out more, but then I'm also, I wouldn't say I'm socially awkward. It's just that I'm also not wanting to be around big crowds and things like that. So I kind of just get on with things really. But it does exacerbate any negative feelings, I think, because you don't have that fluidity where you can go out and just like get away from it all. There's less outlets or ways to switch off, I think, and there's an over reliance on technology and social media, which causes a fatigue, so that can make any kind of mental health difficulties worse. However, I've had a community to like lean on, so I'm quite lucky with that, I think.
We had so much time on our hands. The first lockdown, dare I say, it was kind of a novelty, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And the sun was shining and everyone was working from home, and oh, what is this life that we now lead? Everyone got dogs, and it was like, okay, everyone kind of took a step back and started reminding themselves what is important in life, and that our family connections and our friend connections are way more important than running around like a madman doing your 9 to 5 and knackering yourself out for that. I think the stigma around overworking, not the stigma around it, the what's the word when you glamorize overworking? I think that was that a lot of people did do that, and now everyone's like, now I want to work a 4-day week, and and I think it has given us that reflection. What will you be taking from the lockdown scenario into a new normal, hopefully in a few months' time?
Yeah, in that the new normal will be new and not like the previous normal. And I really agree with all the things you said there. And I feel that like people are taking more ownership over their own lives. And when you strip back a lot of these things that people relied upon before, what's left? And I think the power of community, the power of connecting with people, like you don't necessarily just have to do the same things all the time and go to the same place to work. Like my wife, like I don't think she'll go back to work as like 5 days a week like she did before. So many major companies in the corporate world have seen the light a little bit yet. I think the ones who are the most ethical have, because so mental health has come onto the table. It's come to the fore, and I think more authentic people have also come to the fore, because once you strip back all these things, window dressing, what's left of the real person? If all your life is external and trying to please people and have a great car and going out all the time, those things are absolutely brilliant. However, what's the core of who you are? Because when you've got to stay at home and you can't see your friends, you kind of have to rely on that.
Definitely. I want to go back to the previous question about your mental health. So how did you know at 18 that you had a mental illness? Do you think it was from being a child? Can you take us back there?
Yeah, probably stemmed from parents got divorced when I was about 12. But yeah, it was a taken root in the most mental health conditions take root in childhood. Not feeling good enough alongside a neurological thing that wasn't diagnosed until 32 years old. Like, so that was obviously there. I think my dad potentially on the spectrum, but there's a lot of men of that generation who haven't been diagnosed and stuff like that. I kind of went to uni, started to do like broadcast journalism or something. I lasted about 3 months. I had a breakdown. I left. I couldn't tell anyone about what was going on for me except for my mum, who I broke down in front of on my like 19th birthday or something. And then then got some antidepressants. But I remember then 6 months later, I applied for a job at estate agents, and I put that I had depression on my CV, and he said that's the reason I'm not giving you the job. So this is back then. Like he said, you're a wonderful candidate, but I feel like you need to whatever. And it was like, at the time, like that won't happen now. I've been able to, but like that happened to me. That happened to me at 19 years of age, and like, not like I'm not a smart lad or a hard worker. I just was dealing with something that. But then you become in your mind a black sheep, because like lads at that age and growing up in Greater Manchester, Stockport, where I'm from, like to be that lad who cries or has down days, and you have to hide that away to survive. Where it's not like that now, because there's outlets there for you.
I think there's been a huge stigma more about male mental health than there is about women. I think girls chat more openly as a group in a conversation. We chat to our mums more probably, or a guardian or someone that we're close to. I do think we find it easier to open up. I think men, there's so much pressure on you to, I hate the word man up, grow a set, like stuff like that. It's just thrown about so flippantly. How how do you think that's changed? Do you still think that's a thing? Do you still see that?
I don't see that, not in anyone in my network or people I interact with, but I imagine in certain communities, in closed off communities, it's how education changes the world, doesn't it? And my mum used to say those two exact same things to me. And my mum's an absolutely brilliant person, loving, caring, compassionate person, but that's just how like people are conditioned to respond. Like I broke down when I was about 20, a Christmas day at my best friend's house, and he's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say to you. What can I do for you? It was like he just didn't know what to do, and people just aren't skilled. So what I'm trying to say is nowadays with peer support and all these things, people can go to people who automatically have that thing, and that thing we're talking about is empathy. And many men do have empathy, but remember the male mental health epidemic and all the things that are going on at the moment is it's due to conditioning of males through generations and generations. Like you're told not to cry, or it's frowned upon, or so that's you grow up and around adolescence, the messages in your programming changes, so therefore something can take hold, and men become a version of themselves which isn't actually their real self.
So if a young male came up to you or was struggling, and what would your advice be?
Talk. I'll listen. Like, what's going on for you? I mean, there's lots of campaigns, isn't there? Ask, are you okay? Ask him again. So I love that Roman Kemp documentary that was on. I think they really did it justice. Yeah, fantastic. Because I'm a little bit skeptical about celebrity-led campaigns. I have my reasons for that, but I think he really did do it justice.
I need to watch that. It is on my list.
I didn't know who he was.
Oh, I think he did like a reality TV show a little while, but it might have been like I'm a Celebrity or something a few years back, and I think I am looking forward to watching it. I watched the Caroline Flack documentary the other night, and it sat so heavy on me.
I've not seen that still yet. No.
Oh well, I mean, I won't watch them one after the other. Cat, you'll send yourself into an absolute
Oh my
hole.
gosh. No,
not yet.
No, definitely not. Before you were diagnosed with depression, what sort of feelings did you have? How did you feel yourself?
I felt like I just wasn't right in this world. I didn't have a place. I felt I was a burden. I felt that like I didn't behave, act, think, feel like other people. My reactions were very, very different. I was overly excitable or passionate, which would be great on a night out, and people would love me for that. But then I also felt very hollow inside, like a real impending sense of doom. Something bad could happen at any moment. And it was only when I kind of went outside of my support network in Greater Manchester, I went to uni in Preston, central Lancashire at the time, that I felt very, very isolated. But I think I'm the kind of person who will react by crying or getting upset or getting angry, which is a kind of way of fighting back and not being okay with that thing. So I kind of came home after I couldn't hack it, and that probably saved my life, to be honest.
I think it's really brave of you to do that, definitely.
What would be, I know you said before talk, but just in general, like what are your top tips to stay positive, to try and keep your head above water, so to speak? Like,
good question. I just try and stay busy, I suppose. But I think time for mental reflection isn't a bad thing. Like, I think if I'm talking about men or lads or blokes, like many of them go to the gym, don't they? And you work out for your physical health, like you work out your brain for your mental health. So just starting to talk about how you feel. And a lot of men, when they speak, they don't very often use the word I. So when we speak from the I, we take ownership of what we think and what we feel, and we don't speak for others. We don't generalize, we don't stereotype, we don't offend, because you're taking responsibility for yourself. So, I mean, I don't want to go down a big road with that, but like, yeah, just how are you feeling, and kind of owning how you're feeling. And once it's out there, I always say, check yourself before you wreck yourself, because it's simple. And I think with mental health, you can dress it up, but it needs to be accessible and simple. And yeah, just like look after yourself. It's all part of your health, and that way you'll know who your friends are. I suppose if they can't, they're making it worse. It's your right to be heard, or your right to be understood.
I really like that. I really like that, taking ownership of your feelings and allowing your feelings and recognizing that, okay, maybe this isn't what everyone else feels, but that's fine for me to feel this way. And hopefully in a few days' time, I won't feel like that. So that's exactly what this podcast is about. We wanted to just remind people and just to try and normalise having those bad moments and those down days and picking yourself up, dusting yourself off, getting on with whatever it was that you're doing, whatever it was that you love to do. I love the Instagram as well, by the way. I think it's really positive, and I sometimes find Instagram to be very negative. And I just think what you're pushing out there, we need more of that.
Yeah,
that is what needs to be shown on people's like pages, what comes up in your search boxes, that kind of stuff, rather than a load of crap that people post.
Yeah, that's it. The future is I always remind myself of what the core values of why I'm doing what I'm doing is. Like, I don't want people to feel like I'm feeling, and our core values are courage, compassion, and connection. But within that, I think authenticity and being a good role model, and I do always check myself before I wreck myself. So it's kind of, I think, it's not pussyfooting around anyone. It's being authentic and being real, and kind of owning your own story, but not having to tell your own story all the time. Like, I'm happy to talk to you here today. I've agreed to that. But some people, I think, like almost open themselves up very, very vulnerably on Instagram and things like that. But as a trainee counsellor, what are the merits of that? Who are you doing that for? If you're doing it as part of your story, your recovery, and your development, then I take my hat off to you. But also, you have a responsibility to keep yourself safe. And if you're kind of opening up some real raw negative emotions on a public forum rather than in the privacy and intimacy of a counselling room where it's supposed to be done, in my opinion, then it's kind of, you're not going to get, you set yourself up for validation. You're saying, like, if I open up and cry in this way, or if I do this thing in this way, I'll get rewarded for it. It's like, it's not grief Olympics. It's like, make it and own it yourself. Like I know that there are people who have stories and sad stories, but like there are the right people to go to for the right things. But we're going to just keep developing our brand, but and doing it our way. And if but that has been the best and the worst thing, because there's many ways that we could have changed the way that we offer a Talk About It Mate and we market Talk About It Mate. And I feel that we would have become a lot more successful by doing it that way. However, it doesn't align with my values and my integrity.
I like that. And something you just touched upon then, like, some people, if that's fine, if that's what they want to do, if they want to bare their soul on their Instagram page, then that is absolutely fine. But I do think sometimes that can be triggering for people. So people going through something, if they're just idly scrolling and all of a sudden this celebrity that they follow and only really want to look at their clothes, because that's basically all I do. I just want to look at what people are wearing. And they've posted this soul-bearing problem that they have, and it could trigger something inside you, and then that could set you on a downward spiral that you never intended to go on. I think people need to be aware of their audience, of the age group that they're attracting. I think it is, and also they're opening themselves up to negative comments. I think if you're putting yourself in the public eye in that way, using your Instagram to air how you're feeling, I know we say we should talk about it and we should be open, we should try and be as transparent as we like, but like you just said, I think there is that it should really be for you and your friends and for your close ones, and when your time is right and you're ready, make people aware of what they're about to read and what they're about to see. And it is like the documentary, like watching the Caroline Flack documentary and the Roman Kemp documentary. People know what they're switching into. They can put that on and go, right, I know what I'm going to get here. Prepare themselves for it. I do think Instagram's a very dangerous place.
It is. I unfollow a lot of those toxic people, though, in that sense, so I'm quite protective. I only see the good stuff, because that's one thing, you can own your feed. So I take responsibility of, if I think people in it aren't in it for the right reasons, I'll mute them or whatever. But this is the difference between a public forum and a contracted space. So if you enter a counselling room, you'll have a contract. If you enter one of our groups, which are online on Zoom or face to face, there will be a contract. It's like everybody agrees to these things. Therefore, without that, you can't keep the space safe. So we're taking responsibility as a gatekeeper almost to let you into this room. And then if anybody tries to give you advice, we can kind of say, well, we don't do that. That's in the contract. You don't have to share more than what you want to share, so people can't ask you direct questions, because some people will feel they have to answer it. And if they've disclosed something, also if it's a really serious disclosure, I'll take them off into a breakout room and see if we can get them the support that they actually need, because speaking to 10 people about an intense trauma or abuse, like, again, it isn't the forum. So we have to make it very, very clear as voluntary organisations what we are and what we are not. And by being the best we can be of what we are, we can be more successful.
Definitely.
Brilliant.
So lastly, where can we find you?
Everywhere in your ears through our podcast, where we model what happens in the groups. And next week, which will obviously been out now, we've replaced the two men in the chair with two women, and it's our best podcast yet, and that's about courage. Talk about it, mate, on any of the social media, where you can then get access to all of our groups, which are listed on Meetup, and you can RSVP, and we've got workshops. We're all over the show. We're not going away.
Cool.
That's brilliant.
Good.
I think it's great what you're doing. Thank you so much for chatting with us, Mike.
Thanks for having me. I know I can go on, so yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you.
If you have been affected by anything we've spoken about this week, then please do get in touch with a 24/7 mental health tech support line. They're called Shout, and all you need to do is text Shout to 85258. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. We really appreciate you listening. I know it's been a mammoth week, and it means a lot to some people. I know it means a lot to you, Kat.
Definitely. It's such an important week, Mental Health Awareness Week. It's to help educate as well, because a lot of people don't know much about mental health issues. And it also could help you as well if you were struggling with anything and you didn't know what it was. Hopefully this week has given you a bit of an idea of what it can be. So yeah, do seek help and help educate as well. If you've got a platform of any sort, make sure you do speak about it, because it's so important.
Definitely. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. And please look after one another. Be kind and stay safe.
See you next week.